Welcome back. Now, the United Opposition has hit back at President William Ruto over his claims that the opposition leaders are driven by political greed. The leaders say the president is worried by Kalonzo's reception in Nyanza, which complicates his political matrix. Melita Oletenges reports.
United opposition leaders attended the burial of Terry Kariuki, the wife to the late J.M. Kariuki, at Kanyamwe Farm in Gilgil, Nakuru County. They took a swipe at President William Ruto, calling him a confused president and that his political calculations have hit a dead end as the opposition is acceptable in Nyanza.
Nimeona huyu Kasongo jana akilia, akisema ya kwamba ati kuna wanaume watano wanakutana ati kugawa serikali. Huyu Kasongo hana habari, amechanganyikiwa. Unajua tangu alienda pale Kisumu, pale Bondo kulia machozi ya uongo, akisema atanalia mambo ya Raila. Kalonzo akaenda pale, Mama Aida na wote familia wakasema wanatabua Kalonzo. Huyu Kasongo amechanganyikiwa.
They have dismissed accusations that the opposition is out to ring-fence their own interests by forming government, insisting they have one core mission: to remove President Ruto from power.
Hao wanaume watano wanakutana na mama moja. Hakuna serikali wanagawa. Wanapanga vile utaenda nyumbani. Hiyo ndio kazi iko mbele. Na hakuna mtu anagawa serikali. Tumeambiwa na watu ya Kenya, kazi yetu ya kwanza ni kupeleka Kasongo nyumbani. Mambo ya serikali tutaongea baadaye.
The opposition leaders dismissing claims that a member of their team was in talks with President Ruto, terming the claims state-sponsored propaganda.
Rigiji akatuuliza, nasikia nyinyi wawili mnatafuta na Kasongo. Na akatuambia mkiitwa msisahau kuniita. Rigiji, nataka nikwambie ya kwamba tukiitwa mimi na Kalonzo tutaambia Kasongo huyo kuzo wetu Rigiji ndio spokesman wetu. Kama unatafuta Wamalwa, kama unatafuta Kalonzo, wewe enda kule wa Munyoro, tafuta Rigiji uzungumza naye.
In remembering the late J.M. Kariuki, they said the historical injustices faced through political assassinations should be addressed.
Kuna mambo ya historical injustice in this country. Na kuna pia mambo ya reparations. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kuendelea na nchi ambayo historia yake ni ngumu, na lazima hiyo ngumu historia lazima ichambuliwe, lazima tuiangalie na tufanye marekebisho.
Actively involved in charitable work.
The family of J.M. Kariuki eulogized his late widow Terry Kariuki as a woman of strong principle and overflowing kindness. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
All right, this is the United Opposition speaking at the funeral of the late spouse of J.M. Kariuki. May she rest in eternal peace. Now, here in studio again, still with Duncan Okache and Titus Mahanu. And let me begin with you on this one, Duncan. What you make of the current political movements? Because you've seen, since the passing of Raila Odinga, the shifts or the movements that have been, especially in Nyanza region, becoming very attractive in the political scene. But at the same time, the United Opposition trying as much as possible to hold together. What are you seeing yourself?
I had said it severally on this show that there is a normalcy in Kenya where we've had political parties revolving around individuals, as opposed to, strong policies to strengthen themselves. So, such that devoid of this particular individual, you find that there is chaos, there is confusion, and there are tantrums. And that is what we've been used to. And I think that is something that gradually we may outlive, and I hope we will outlive. And of course, there were always very silent fears and murmurs. What if Raila Odinga is not around? What will happen with ODM? Will ODM have someone who will be the automatic Joshua that will now be proceeding with the journey to Canaan? And I think that's what people had waited for quite a long time. And I think the reality is that on that one, I think Baba did not actually finish something that he should have finished at that time. Because automatically you can see now ODM is pulling in all different directions. It is like when the husband dies and he was polygamous. It's difficult to bring the wives together, and even that one that had issues with another will now outrightly play it out in the open. So the reality is that Nyanza is now not really united as had been or has always been perceived. And the issue here is about now who then will take up the mantle. So when there are divisions like those, you find that it's very easy now for someone to feel that I can actually take a chunk of it. Of course, many say that they are still now under the wings of William Ruto because of where Raila Odinga left the region in. But at the end of the day, the reality is that there is a lot of simmering tension. There's a lot of sibling rivalry that is going on that people in the united opposition believe that they can actually harness. And you can see that it is not a far-fetched attempt. And just the visit by Kalonzo Musyoka, which told you a lot. He went and he was received at the Kisumu governor's office very pompously, like a national leader, from the airport all through until when he went back. And that is so significant, and that is something that anyone in Kenya Kwanza, of course, will want to think it's just a wild dream. And to that extent, you find that Luo Nyanza is heading towards where West and where my learned colleague and classmate, where they come from. They've actually been divided into several pieces and never put their eggs in one basket, and it is something that if it's not dealt with properly, it may take quite a long time for you to say that again Luo Nyanza will actually be able to vote as a bloc. And you know, that is why people say when you are able to vote as a bloc, you are able to marshal, you are able to negotiate, and that has been the power behind Raila, because he first put his backyard in order, then he actually brought in other regions.
Right.
That is the same thing that happened with William Ruto. He put his backyard in order. Then he was able to now rope in other people. That is exactly what Rigathi Gachagua is also doing, as much as people are throwing stones at him, because you put your backyard in order, then you actually you are able now to bring other people to partner. It is exactly what Kalonzo Musyoka has been able to do over the years. Many people have come up and tried to challenge his throneship in terms of Ukambani leadership, but Kalonzo has over the years turned out to be the de facto leader of Ukambani region.
Right.
And by extension, you can see now, even everyone is coalescing, even around the united opposition. It's like automatic that this would be the presidential candidate of the united opposition. And it is something that is a good thing, because you'd end up having two major formations that will be able to give Kenyans an alternative choice if you are to choose outside the current regime.
Interesting. Wakili, your thoughts, because like Wakili Okach here says that politics in Kenya is organized around personalities, and for a very long time you'd have thought that ODM has actually some ideals that define them. They have always spoken about it. You've had the Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, say that he knows what Baba believes in, he knows what ODM believes in. Is it social democracy? Is it liberal democracy? But now, when you find yourself in a situation where everyone is saying that we were left in the hands of William Ruto, who, even though was a member of ODM, does not necessarily agree with this political party, what is happening to our political scene?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. First of all, allow me to begin from the point whereby I think now it's agreed across the board that for a long time, for more than 30 years, the late former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, was both a punching bag and a human shield in the political circle. And with his exit, we are going to see a lot of political orphans. because it had taken him so long to galvanize, the supremacy that he had, not just in Nyanza, but throughout the country. But then coming back to the issue that politics in Kenya is galvanized around individuals, it's true to some extent. And that's why you see individuals like the SG of ODM are finding it very difficult to try and ensure that ODM, for example, remains within the ideals of ODM. And in fact, even right now, I was looking at how the mantle of the party was taken over by the brother of the former prime minister. Right. And I was asking and wondering, doesn't that party have party structures so that if there is, when the party leader exits, the leadership and the governing council of that party can sit around and say, fine, we have deputy party leaders, we have the secretary general. I think they have 3 deputy party leaders.
Yes.
And if for me, if they will have taken a moment and said, okay, fine, let us mourn the loss of our party leader, but after that, let us try to retreat and see what the constitution of this party says. Because if there is that constitution, and I believe ODM has got very strong structures, such that they say, fine, the party leader has exited, but we need to choose a new party leader based on the structures that we have. That way, they will be inculcating, the ideals that the structures that have been formed around parties based on their constitutions have to be followed. But otherwise, if individuals are allowed not to coalesce around the structures of the parties, that's when you see this kind of confusion happening. And it's not going to end anytime soon.
Right.
Because so many political orphans that have been left by the space that Baba has left, they are finding it very difficult to even agree with what the constitution of that party says. And that's why you see this SG is finding it very difficult and is facing a lot of opposition, because whereas we have seen he's trying to speak the ideals of what ODM says. Because I think as a party, the main objective of any political party is to one time get power and capture power by ensuring that they follow the ideals of the party. But when you see members in that particular party saying that in our party we are not going to have a presidential election in 2027, then it means they have forgotten the ideals of that party, you see, and they have forgotten that, as a political party, they need to move within a space that allows them to thrive within the structures of the party.
So for you, you're looking at the 3 deputy party leaders, Simba Arati, Abdul Somad Sharif, Godfrey Sotsi.
Yes.
What would have been your pick for party leader?
Now, I believe there are ways in which the constitution of ODM can be followed to arrive at the party leader of ODM. And for me, in as much as so many people have said that Oburu Odinga is the interim party leader, a moment will come when they'll have to choose a party leader based on the structures of the party. Because if it is a party that boasts of democracy and boasts of, ideals of following the attributes of democracy, then they surely have to follow a constitution. We all agree that Oburu Odinga, and on all emotions aside, was not appointed as per the party constitution of ODM. He was appointed there on an interim basis. And therefore, if ODM...
It was a meeting of the National Executive Committee.
Yes, and you see, across the board, we know how party leaders are elected in parties. They have to be delegates and so on and so forth. So for me, I didn't see members of ODM in entirety being given...
That so? Is that how UDA party leader was elected? Or the Jubilee one?
For a long time, most parties in this country flout their own constitutions. Because in a classical democracy, the delegates of any party, the members of any party are supposed to be given an opportunity to elect their party leader. But normally there are, local arrangements where people say, fine, this fella has been here for a very long time. He is supposed to come in because he has suffered some atrocities here and there, or he was so close, or he was able to assist us here and there. And that is why you see we continue having a lot of problems in political party and the spaces. So what needs to happen is that we can try and get rid of these challenges in the political circles if, number one, individuals follow the structures of parties and their constitutions. And also we need to build politics of following the ideals of parties and not, coalescing around individuals. Otherwise, we will continue having political offense. But it's achievable. If it is realistic to coalesce around individuals, it's also possible to coalesce around political parties.
All right.
Yes.
And as we conclude, Wakili Okach, then, because in all this time, people are just fighting for relevance, fighting for the attention of whoever it is.
Yeah.
We don't hear a lot of conversation on issues. Yes, the president says wale hawana agenda or they don't know where the roads are. But really, even himself, you don't hear a lot of conversations on real issues affecting Kenyans today, tomorrow, and the years to come.
To be fair to the president, of course, when he was campaigning to be the president, of course, it became issue-based. I think that was the first time that I think we transformed now from not just looking at a tribal aspect, but there were real issues, and that is why it is becoming very difficult for this government to persuade Kenyans that they have done what they promised the people to do, because they brought issues on board. They actually said we are going to achieve this, not just manifesto-wise, but they came up with policies that were pro-people. And it was very clear that even to that extent, it elevated the conversation or the competition, even to the point of ODM also now starting talking about issues. So I think going forward, we have transited gradually to the aspect of issues. But of course, you must know that the realignment must still happen within the ambits of personality and regionalism. That is what we are still seeing, because you're always told, what are you bringing on this table? Because you are not the table. At the end of the day, everyone must then try to coalesce and say, I'm bringing this so that I have a voice. Thereafter, it will be then best, and even as we are proceeding, you can see gradually, the attack is, you have said this, but this is not achievable. And I think that is a conversation we should have moving forward. But just to speak about what my colleague has indicated, I think it will not be fair to just say that Oburu Odinga has just been given that position, in an haphazard manner. It is normal when there is a vacancy, people act in certain capacities until the other person is properly appointed, and that's why none other than Oburu Odinga has said, I was given this position in acting capacity. Right. There is a time that now we will be able to now properly use the party structures and constitution to have a party leader. However, the reality is that in these parties of ours, I can tell you that, and that's why I agree with him, you can be acting forever until God decides to take you. And we have seen that in that position. We have seen even my brother Sifuna, there was no election, and he is always reminded like that. If you look at ODM elections, they tried even to organize during the Babu na Mwamba time. And it was clear that the top echelon did not want elections. And I don't know, because when you call yourself Orange Democratic Movement and you are afraid of democracy within the party, then it defeats. And that's why he says you go against even your own constitution and principles. Looking at even UDA, you saw their own issues even with their Secretary General. Who elected their Secretary General? He was appointed from State House, and the other one was chased away like a dog. And it just tells you, and up to today, both these parties, they started primaries, remember? Where have they gone? It just disappeared because they are afraid of the reality.
Did they go through the full course?
If they go through the full course, like you've seen in America, you've seen in ANC in South Africa, ANC has been churning out names because of the processes they have. If you look at America, people like Obama will never have even come close to a media station, leave alone presidency, because they will have been so far. But because of democracy and the fact that people say that in our coalition, these are our ideals and we will go through the process, you can have a chance to even defeat even an incumbent in party primaries.
Fascinating. And of course, we continue to observe what's happening in the political space. Asante sana, Wakili Duncan Okach and Wakili Tetas Makhanu for making time for us to have this conversation. And shortly we'll be transitioning to a conversation on alternative dispute resolution. We'll be speaking to David Njoroge, Joyce Aloch, former judge, Jacqueline Waihenya, and Kenneth Wayne Mutuma, who is also the chairperson of the Institute of Chartered Arbitrators in Kenya. We're back here with that conversation in a few minutes.